Hello everybody and welcome! Today I'm not going to build spaceships in Kerbal Space Program, but in Lego. And yeah, I've bought both the Saturn V and the Apollo Lunar Lander set from Lego. And if any of this is too boring for you, I've put in a table of content where you can skip ahead to the part that might be relevant to you. Both come with a really nice manual and a lot of parts. The Saturn V incidentally has 1,969 parts, so they spell 1969, the year of the moon landing, which is a nice touch. And yeah, the first part is of course building the first stage, then I'm going to build the second stage, the third stage, and then the service module and lunar lander. You know the drill. What was interesting during building that were the kind of build techniques that were being used. You see this four-prong thing in the middle? Yeah, you're gonna see in a few minutes why this is built like it is built. It was a bit confusing to me at first, but in the end I realized why, and it was quite ingenious, to be honest. So somebody really put some brain matter into this set. So yeah, this is the hull, so to speak, so we're going to put the USA on there. And yeah, I'm not going to bother you with my rambling at the moment. Let's watch this until I finish the Saturn V, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about that, okay? Yeah, short interruption. This is one of the first things I messed up. I skipped a build step, and if you watch closely, like I did through this gaping hole there, then you will recognize that I made quite a few of these mistakes during the build of as well as the Saturn V as the Apollo Lunar Lander set. But yeah, maybe you can gloss over that little fact. Okay, and we're almost done with the uppermost part of the hull, and yeah, I'm going to be quiet now for a while again. Now here is where I realized why this thing was built like it was. So these little hull parts, they clip inside onto these yellow bracket type things. I'm pretty sure there is a very specific Lego tile type name for them, but I don't know it. So yeah, that's what I call them. The yellow bracket thingies. Sorry. And yeah, I messed up the plates over there. This was sort of a checkered flag design instead of the stripes, but that was a really quick fix, and that was just a funny face. Now, these F1 engines have quite an interesting feature. If we look at the close-up, not only is this enclosure quite cleverly made, but you also have the exhaust of the gas generator over there. I mean, it looks like it points in the wrong direction, but I mean, the thought is there, and I love these little details in that build particularly. Okay, first stage done. On to the next one. Now, this is also an interesting construction, and basically it serves the same purpose as the one I've shown you previously, the one with the clip-on parts, but you'll see that later. Another nice little detail are these latches that connect to these side parts that are going to be flipped to the outside or turned to the outside a little bit. Yeah, another interesting way of doing things and securing this onto the main structure. Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention is that all of these parts with special logos and symbols on them, they are all printed parts. So this is more expensive for Lego to make instead of just putting stickers on them. So yeah, this is additional value to this set of the Saturn V rocket. So yeah, good job, Lego! Yeah, you see these dark gray tiles in the back, or plates in the back. Yeah, I forgot to add them, as you can see here, so I had to break this thing up a little bit and then add them again, but it was no big deal. So the S2 stage is almost done. We just need a few bits and bobs here and there, and then it's going to be finished. Also notice the yellow and red coating for these parts. I'm not sure if you can see this on the GoPro because I was not able to really focus in there, but there is a yellow bracket in there and a red bracket in there, and the parts with the red slope kind of thing fit onto the red bracket, and the ones with the yellow slope fit into the yellow bracket. So yeah, once again, quite an interesting way of designing this set. Alright, second stage finished. Now let's get to the third one. And that's it for the third stage. Well, now this also has to transport something, right? So let's get to the spaceship per se. So we need the command and service module, and we need the lunar lander. First thing is the service module, then the command thingy on top, but in this case you have to replace the command module with the launch escape tower. So in reality the launch escape tower and shroud were of course around the command module, but since LEGO does not offer any parts that can do that, so you have to replace it and yeah, then add it to the rocket. Alright, here's the lander module. Interesting thing here, the description or the manual does not tell you that you can actually put this lander also inside the fairing of the third stage, but you totally can do that. You just have to take this black stand kind of thing, which is basically supposed to be the engine, I think, and put it in there. And I'm going to show that to you a little bit later, don't you worry. And that's it. It is really a massively huge set. I mean, I knew it was big, but actually seeing it in person and handling it is a totally different thing. And it's also surprisingly stable, at least the first and second stage. The third stage can come off a little bit more easily, so you have to be careful with that. But yeah, that's the Saturn V in all its glory. Let's look at what you can actually do with it. So let's focus more on the command and service module, where I've already replaced the command module with the launch escape tower, or vice versa. If you open up the fairing, you can see, of course, the lander module in there, as was with the real Apollo rockets. Unfortunately, these fairing halves don't open up petal style as they did in the real thing. Also, it was 4 and not 2, but yeah, minor details. Okay, now we'll do the transpose and extract thing. You can actually put the command module in there, yes, and then get it off from the fairing adapter. And you have to take the engine with you, because this comes off really easily. Bit annoying, but yeah, it works. Then this thing, of course, can fly to the moon. Once we arrive at the moon, we separate. Of course, the crew has transferred to the Lunar Excursion Module, or LEM, or short, Lunar Lander. And then we can touch down in this prepared little place or plate with sort of another stand where you can place this as a sort of diorama with, of course, an American flag and 2 of these really tiny microfigures, and you can move them around and pretend you're Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the surface of the moon. And when they're done, they can get back in that little ascent module, fly away, as you can see here. Let's put that aside and ignore the fact that the astronauts are still on the surface. And once they've docked with the command module, the astronauts would transfer from the ascent module to the command module. The ascent module would be left in lunar orbit and would decay and crash into the moon, and this thing here will arrive on Earth, or at least in Earth's atmosphere, where this will burn up, and this part will be flown through the atmosphere, protected by its heat shield, and then finally splash down into the ocean, where this orange ring was not present. This was added later, if memory serves correctly, but these balloon-shaped things, they were blown up by the craft itself. And that's it. That's the massive and magnificent Saturn V LEGO set. Now, on to the Apollo Lunar Lander. This came in a dented box, which kind of was a disappointment, but I don't care so much about boxes, so yeah. And it has less bags, so to speak, and less parts. And also a nice manual, but stickers. I really don't like stickers, especially in... I mean, it's a 50-year anniversary edition of a LEGO set for the moon landing, for Christ's sake, and they can't spend the extra bucks for printed parts. I don't know. I'm not sure about you guys, but I really don't think that stickered parts look as good as printed parts, and they could afford it on the Apollo rocket and the Saturn V rocket, so why not do it on this sort of companion piece, if you want to call it that way. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, but yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment. But there are some printed parts in there, like this one, the Lunar Lander plate for the plate, which is basically a moon landscape that you have to build yourself. If you're a kid growing up in the 80s, you may remember that LEGO back then also produced some play plates that already had some craters and moon surface features in there. You know what I mean? I think you remember. I do. Anyhow, you build your own craters, and you also build some footsteps where Neil Armstrong supposedly walked, and a flag that has to be stickered on. Yeah, no print there either. And that's the plate. So now to the lander itself. The octagon shape is built around this base plate. And you can see what's going on over here, so I'll shut up for a while and I'll point out some interesting facts a little bit later. Here's some interesting design I want to highlight. You can secure these by clipping it to the parts below, so they are really secure. So yeah, good job on that design decision. Same with the fuel tanks. These are supposed to be the fuel and oxidizer tanks present in the descent module. I've heard they're not in the right place, but you won't see them really once the thing is finished, but it's still a nice detail that they're there. They're also explained in the manual, along with some other parts that will come later. So I think that's a nice addition that LEGO made the effort to actually explain what's going on, or what was on the lunar lander for people who do not know already. For instance, this here is a TV camera. It was activated once Neil Armstrong started his descent from the module towards the surface and filmed those famous first steps on the lunar surface. Also, Apollo 11 had some sort of cargo over here. This was a laser reflector that's still there, with which the distance between the moon and Earth can be measured very precisely. So yeah, a lot of stickers are going on there to make it a little bit more golden, but to be honest, it was a bit too black for my taste. I kind of imagined the lunar lander module to be a bit more golden and shiny, but yeah. Speaking of shiny, I had to add a whole load of gold type plates, which you will see a little bit later. Yeah, this is the moment. I had to put like 32 or more of these tiles on. That was a bit tedious and repetitive, but yeah, it made for a better looking lunar lander. Why am I only making 3 legs? Well, the thing is, there was one leg that was very special. It had this plaque on it that read, "We came in peace for all mankind." Of course, it's so small that you can't read it, it's just gibberish in Lego type right thing. But yeah, it's a nice touch that it's on that lander. What was a little bit disappointing was that the legs are not retractable. You would have just had to remove the lowermost joints or make them slidable, and then this would have been able to retract into the lander, but yeah, somebody decided against that. But hey, yeah, who am I to complain? What you can see here is me building sort of the sides of the Ascent module. This was an interesting build because I first did not really realize what I was building, but when it all came together it made total sense, and it's actually quite an interesting way of designing things. So yeah, props to whoever invented this. This was quite interesting to do, to be honest. And you can already see inside some knobs, so to speak, where the Lego figures can stand. You can put both of them in there. It's tight, but yeah, so was the real Lunar Excursion module, right? And you may have already guessed this is going to be the front. Yeah. The front included not only the windshield, so the part where they actually looked out at the lunar surface, but also the hatch through which Buzz and Neil would leave, in other order, of course. And yeah, that's how it looked like. I mean, this is a really remarkable recreation of the Ascent module. I mean, the RCS cluster, they stick out a little bit too much for my taste, but yeah, that's a minor detail for the rest of what was actually accomplished with this set. And yes, that's the finished lunar lander in Lego Creator Expert set or whatever. I spent about 2 hours building this, with some breaks, to be honest, because some other things came up. A little bit shorter, quite a while shorter than the Saturn V, because the Saturn V, it took me more than 3 hours to build, and here I'm unable to get the camera out because I had that other thing a little bit clipped too far. So as you can see here, the camera is pointed at the ladder, and when Neil Armstrong would go down, then he would be filmed doing so. There we go. Hello, Neil. Yes, this is the moon. Hope you enjoy it. And once that was over with, and after the PR stunt, they could do some actual science and falling down, which I think they did. I think a lot of astronauts fell down on the moon quite a lot. That's why they invented this bunny hop technique to get around. Yeah, then they could get out that reflector and put it somewhere, and somebody could shine a laser onto that site and pinpoint the distance. It's a little bit tricky to get it back in because it wants to fall out all the time, but yeah, that's not a big deal for me. In general, this is quite an enjoyable set. It actually has, in my opinion, higher playability than the Saturn V rocket. But to be honest, as a set, the Saturn V offers more, in my opinion, because it just has more. There's more to build, there's more to look at. It's a really impressive sight to behold once you see it in person. And I apologize for the lack of focus, my camera was kind of lagging behind in that regard. And yeah, you can see the hatch over here, already the foot of Neil poking through. Would get down the ladder and then of course back in. Yeah, things falling off because they're just secured with one of the knobs. And yeah, you can take off both sides and place the astronauts in there a little bit more easily. As I said, it's a little bit tricky because of those bulky spacesuits, but it is manageable. So yeah, and we're finally got focus. And on the side you also have some control panels, you have some control panel in the back. Basically this was really just a tiny tin can to get 2 people onto the surface of the moon and back. You can see here the tiny holes through which they had to look out at the surface of the moon. And incidentally, yes, the Apollo lander module was controlled or was piloted while standing up. So there were no seats in there or anything. They had to stand while they controlled it. Alright, so if you have the money to spend on either this or the Saturn V, I definitely would suggest the Saturn V, but if you already have the Saturn V and have some money laying around, the Apollo lunar lander is still a lot of fun to build and also a lot of fun to play. So I hope you enjoyed this little excursion into the world of LEGO, and regular service will be resumed soon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Also, you can watch one of the 2 cool videos shown on the right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.